Hello, and welcome back to English in Fluency. I am your host, Alex, and I am incredibly happy to have you here with me today. If you have ever felt lost in a conversation, even though you understood every single word the other person said, then this episode is made exactly for you. Have you ever walked away from a chat wondering why the other person seemed upset? Or why they didn't laugh at your joke? Or why they said yes, but then never did what they promised? It is a frustrating feeling, isn't it? You check your dictionary, and the words make sense, but the meaning is completely different. That is because English, like many languages, has two layers. There is the surface layer, which is the vocabulary and grammar you learn in textbooks. And then there is the deep layer, the implied meaning. This is the ability to read between the lines naturally. Today, we are going to master this skill together. We are going to move your listening skills from a basic understanding to a true B1 intermediate level and beyond, where you can understand not just what people say, but what they actually think and feel. This is the secret to sounding and feeling like a native speaker. So, are you ready to unlock this hidden world of communication? Let's get started. To begin, we need to understand that implied meaning often comes from politeness, indirectness, or shared knowledge. In English culture, specifically in the UK and North America, people often avoid direct confrontation. We don't like to say no directly. We don't like to demand things directly. Instead, we use hints. Imagine you are in a room with a friend, and the window is open. It is freezing cold. A direct person might say, "Close the window immediately." But that sounds rude and bossy. Instead, a native speaker might shiver a little, pull their jacket tighter, and say, "Is it a bit chilly in here to you?" Now, think about that sentence. On the surface, it is just a question about the temperature. But reading between the lines, the implied meaning is clear. It means, "I am cold. Please close the window for me." If you only listen to the words, you might just answer, "Yes, it is cold," and keep sitting there. That would make your friend frustrated. But if you read between the lines, you understand the request. Today, we are going to follow the lives of a few new characters, Liam, Sophie, and their colleagues, to see how this works in real life. Let's step into our first story. We are going to a busy office in the city center. We are going to meet Liam. Liam is a hardworking guy, but he is a bit shy. He has a lot of work to do today. He is sitting at his desk, typing furiously on his laptop. His coworker, Sophie, walks by. Sophie is friendly and outgoing, but she sometimes misses social cues. Listen closely to this interaction. Sophie stops at Liam's desk and says, "Hey Liam, a bunch of us are heading down to the new Italian place for lunch. The pizza is supposed to be amazing. Do you want to come?" Now, pay attention to Liam's response. He doesn't look up from his computer. He keeps typing and says, "That sounds really delicious, Sophie, but I have this report due at 2 o'clock. Sophie smiles and says, "Okay, maybe next time," and walks away. Let's pause right there and analyze what just happened. If you are learning English, you might wait for the word no. Did Liam say the word no? He did not. He said the pizza sounds delicious. He gave a reason about a report, but he never explicitly refused the invitation. However, Sophie understood perfectly. When Liam mentioned the deadline, he was using a common technique called the indirect refusal. In English, if someone invites you somewhere and you cannot go, saying a flat no can feel too harsh or unfriendly. It might hurt the other person's feelings. So, Instead of saying no, we state a barrier or an obstacle. The obstacle here is the report due at 2 o'clock. The implied meaning is, I would love to go, but I literally cannot because I have work. Sophie read between the lines. She heard deadline and understood rejection, but she didn't take it personally. If Liam had just said, "No, I don't want to go," Sophie might have thought he was angry with her. By giving a reason, he protects their friendship. Now, imagine if Sophie didn't understand implied meaning. Imagine she stayed there and said, "Well, you can just eat quickly." That would put Liam in a difficult position. He would have to be more direct, which is uncomfortable. So, for your listening practice, whenever you hear someone respond to an invitation by talking about time, work, or another commitment, understand that they are politely saying no. Let's try another example with these two. Later that afternoon, the report is finished. Liam walks into the break room. Sophie is there making coffee. The coffee pot is empty. Sophie looks at the empty pot and sighs. She says, "Oh, I was really needing a pick-me-up." Liam is standing right next to the coffee machine. He looks at her and says, "I can put a fresh pot on if you like." Sophie smiles and says, "You are a lifesaver, Liam." What happened here? This is an example of an implied request. Sophie didn't ask Liam to make coffee. She simply stated a fact and a feeling. Fact: the pot is empty. Feeling: she needs energy. When she said, "I was really needing a pick-me-up," she was hoping Liam would volunteer. This is very common in English. We state a problem and hope the other person offers a solution. It is a way of testing the waters. If Liam didn't want to make coffee, he could have just said, "That's too bad," and walked away. Because she didn't ask him directly, he wouldn't be rude for ignoring it. But Liam is a good colleague. He read between the lines. He understood that her statement was actually a request for help. This makes the social interaction smoother. It feels like a favor rather than an order. Let's move out of the office now and go to a more social setting. We are going to meet a new character named Elena. Elena is visiting her friend Marcus at his apartment. They have been chatting for a few hours. It is getting late, around 10 o'clock at night. Marcus has to wake up early for work the next morning. He is tired, but he enjoys Elena's company. He doesn't want to kick her out. Listen to what Marcus says. He looks at the clock on the wall, then stretches his arms and yawns. He says, "Wow, look at the time. I didn't realize it was getting so late." Elena looks at him and says, "Oh my goodness, yes. I should probably let you get some sleep." Did you catch the implied meaning there? Marcus did not say, "Please leave, I am tired." He said, "Look at the time." This is the classic signal for ending a social visit. When a host comments on the time, or how dark it is outside, or how early they have to get up tomorrow, they are impliedly telling the guest that it is time to go home. Elena is a good listener. She picked up on the cue immediately. She responded by validating his feeling, saying yes, and then offering to leave. This allows Marcus to be polite. He can say, "Oh, no rush," even though he really wants her to leave. It is a graceful dance of manners. If Elena had ignored the comment and kept talking, Marcus would have started to feel annoyed. He might have started giving stronger hints, like turning off the music or standing up. Let's try a little practice exercise together right now. I want you to imagine you are in a situation. I will describe it, and you try to guess the implied meaning. Ready? Imagine you are at a clothing store. You try on a bright yellow jacket. It is very tight, and the color is very shocking. You come out of the fitting room and ask your friend, "Do you like it?" Your friend looks at you, pauses for a second, and says, "Well, it is certainly very bright, isn't it?" I want you to think for a moment. What does your friend really mean? Do they like the jacket? The answer is no. They definitely do not like the jacket. In English, when someone avoids answering a yes or no question and instead focuses on a neutral fact, it usually means they have a negative opinion but don't want to hurt your feelings. Your friend focused on the brightness. Brightness is a fact. But they didn't say it was beautiful or stylish or that it suited you. That absence of a compliment is the implied meaning. They are saying, "It looks bad," without saying the words. If they liked it, they would say, "You look amazing," or "That color is perfect on you." The hesitation, the well, at the beginning, is also a huge clue. That word "well" is often used to signal that the answer is not what you are hoping for. It softens the blow. So, when you hear, "Well, it is certainly distinct," or "Well, it is definitely unique," read between the lines. They are telling you to put it back on the rack. Let's go back to our characters, Liam and Sophie. They are now working on a project together. They have to present an idea to their boss. Liam has an idea, but it is a bit risky. He explains it to Sophie. He says, "So, we could try to change the entire marketing strategy to focus only on social media. What do you think?" Sophie looks at the plan. She is worried it is too dangerous. She says, "It is an interesting idea, Liam. Have you thought about what the budget committee might say?" Let's analyze Sophie's response. It is an interesting idea. In English, the word interesting is a chameleon. It changes color depending on the context. If you say it with excitement, "Wow, that's so interesting," it means good. But if you say it slowly, with a flat tone, it is interesting. It often means, "I have doubts," or "I think this is strange." Sophie followed interesting with a question. Have you thought about the budget committee? This is the key. She is not just asking a question. She is pointing out a flaw. She is implying the budget committee will hate this because it is too expensive. By asking a question instead of making a statement, she invites Liam to see the problem himself. She is guiding him, not criticizing him. This is very common in professional environments. We use questions to point out mistakes. Instead of saying, "You made a mistake here," we say, "Did you mean to put this figure here?" It saves face. It helps the other person feel respected. Now, I want to talk about tone of voice. Implied meaning is 50% words and 50% how you say them. Let's take the phrase, "Thanks a lot." Simple, right? It means thank you. But what if I say it like this? I drop my stack of papers on the floor, and you just stand there watching me without helping. I look at you and say, "Thanks a lot." Do I mean thank you? Absolutely not. I mean the opposite. I mean, you are not helpful at all. This is sarcasm. Sarcasm is when the implied meaning is the exact opposite of the literal meaning. You recognize it by the tone, usually lower, flatter, or dragged out, and by the context. If the situation is bad and someone says something positive, it is sarcasm. Great weather, someone says, while standing in the pouring rain. They mean the weather is terrible. Nice job, someone says when you spill your coffee. They mean you were clumsy. Let's rejoin Elena and Marcus. It is a few days later. They are talking on the phone. Elena is asking Marcus for a favor. She needs a ride to the airport on Friday morning at 4 a.m. That is a huge favor. She asks, "Hey Marcus, are you busy Friday morning?" Marcus replies, "Friday? Oof, that is going to be a tough one for me. I have a really long week ahead." Notice the word oof. It is a sound, not a word, but it carries so much meaning. It signals pain or difficulty. When Marcus says, "That is going to be a tough one," he is preparing Elena for a rejection. He hasn't said no yet. He is giving her a chance to withdraw the request. He is hoping she will say, "Oh, don't worry about it then. I'll take a taxi." This is a negotiation of implied meaning. If Elena pushes him and says, "Please, I really need you," she is breaking the social contract. She is forcing him to say a hard no. But Elena is smart. She hears the hesitation. She hears the oof. She understands that he doesn't want to do it, but he is too polite to say no directly. So she reads between the lines and says, "You know what? I think I might just take the train. It's easier." Marcus breathes a sigh of relief and says, "Yeah, the train is actually really reliable." This interaction shows how implied meaning saves relationships. Marcus didn't have to be the bad guy who refused to help a friend. Elena didn't have to feel rejected. They both understood the subtext and found a solution that kept things comfortable. Let's go deeper into the workplace context, as this is where many English learners struggle. Let's meet a new character, a boss named Mr. Henderson. Mr. Henderson is speaking to his employee, Sarah. Sarah has been coming in late recently. Mr. Henderson calls her into his office. He doesn't scream. He doesn't say, "You are fired if you are late again." He sits down, smiles politely, and says, "Sarah, I've noticed the traffic has been really bad lately. Are you finding the commute difficult in the mornings?" If Sarah takes this literally, she might just talk about the traffic. She might say, "Yes, it is terrible," and think they are just having a nice chat. But that is dangerous. Mr. Henderson is not talking about the traffic. He is implying, "You have been late, and I have noticed." He is giving her an opening to explain herself or to apologize. He is impliedly warning her. The correct response from Sarah, reading between the lines, would be, "Yes, the traffic has been heavy, but I am going to leave 20 minutes earlier from now on to make sure I am here on time." By saying that, she acknowledges the hidden criticism and offers a solution. Mr. Henderson would be pleased. He didn't have to be the angry boss, but the message was delivered. This technique is often called softening. We soften criticism, requests, and bad news. We wrap the sharp meaning in soft words. Think of it like a package. The box is soft and pretty. Those are the words. But inside is something hard and heavy. That is the meaning. You need to open the box to understand. Here is another scenario for you to practice. You are at a friend's house for dinner. The friend, let's call him David, has cooked a meal. It is very spicy. Too spicy for you. You are struggling to eat it. David asks, "How is the food?" You don't want to be rude. You say, "It has certainly got a kick to it." What is the implied meaning? Kick implies strength or spice. By focusing on the spice level, you are avoiding saying it is good. You are impliedly saying, "It is very spicy." David, if he is perceptive, will realize this means it might be too much for you. He might say, "Oh, is it too hot? Here, have some bread or milk." If you had said, "It is delicious," you would be lying. If you said, "It is too spicy, I can't eat it," You might embarrass him. It has got a kick is the perfect middle ground. It is honest, but polite. Now, let's talk about silence. Sometimes, implied meaning is found in what is not said. Silence can be very loud in English. Imagine Liam asks Sophie, "Do you think I should apply for that promotion?" Sophie pauses. She looks down at her desk. She waits 3 seconds before saying, "You are definitely a hard worker, Liam." The silence before she spoke is the message. That 3-second pause screams, "I am not sure you are ready." And then her words confirm it. She praised his work ethic. Hard worker. But she didn't answer the question about the promotion. She didn't say, "Yes, you should." The omission, what she left out, is the answer. The answer is no. If she thought he should apply, she would have answered immediately and enthusiastically. So, when you ask a question and there is a pause, or the person answers a different question, be careful. Read between the lines. They are holding back their true opinion. I know this might sound complicated. You might be thinking, "Alex, why can't people just say what they mean? It would be so much easier." And you are right. It would be simpler. But language is about connection. Being direct can sometimes sever connections. Being indirect maintains harmony. It allows people to save face. It allows for kindness. Once you start hearing these hidden messages, you will realize that English speakers are actually communicating a lot of information, just not always with words. Let's look at one more common phrase. "I'll see what I can do." You ask someone for help. Maybe you ask a customer service agent to refund a ticket that is non-refundable. The agent says, "Well, the rules are quite strict, but I'll see what I can do." What does this mean? Does it mean yes? Does it mean no? It means, "I am going to try, but I cannot promise anything, so don't get your hopes up." However, it is slightly positive. It is better than "I can't." It implies they are on your side. They are willing to make an effort. But if they come back and say no, you cannot be angry, because they only promised to see. We have covered the basics of social politeness, but now we need to go deeper. We need to explore the messy, complicated, and fascinating world of emotions. We are going to look at how people hide their anger, how they express doubt without being rude, and how they navigate high-pressure situations using only hints. This is where listening becomes a superpower. When you can hear the emotion behind the words, you stop being just a student of the language, and you become a master of connection. So, let's rejoin our friends, Elena and Marcus, and see what trouble they have gotten themselves into. If you remember, Elena asked Marcus for a ride to the airport at 4 a.m. Marcus, very politely, implied that he couldn't do it. Elena, very politely, accepted that and said she would take the train. On the surface, everything was fine. A problem was solved. But humans are complex. Just because someone says, "It's okay," doesn't mean they feel okay. Let's observe them now. It is 2 days later. Marcus meets Elena for a quick coffee. He feels a little bit guilty about not driving her, so he wants to check on her. Listen carefully to this conversation. The tone is everything here. Marcus sits down and says, "Hey, how have you been? I haven't heard from you since Tuesday." Elena is looking at her phone. She doesn't look up immediately. Finally, she gives a small, tight smile and says, "I've been busy. Just busy." Marcus senses something is wrong. He tries to be friendly. He says, "Are you excited about your trip tomorrow?" Elena stirs her coffee slowly. She looks at the liquid swirling around and says, "Sure. It will be an adventure." Taking the train with all my luggage should be an experience. Let's freeze time right there. This is a masterclass in passive aggression. Passive aggression is when someone is angry, but they don't want to start a fight, so they show their anger through subtle comments and behavior. Elena is not shouting at Marcus. She is not saying, "You are a bad friend for not driving me." But look at her words. First, she gave a short answer. "I've been busy." In English, when a friend gives you a one-word or very short answer, it is a red flag. It usually implies, "I don't want to talk to you right now." Then, look at the comment about the train. She said, "Taking the train with all my luggage should be an experience." The word experience is doing a lot of heavy lifting here. Usually, an experience is a good thing. But when used in this tone, after mentioning a difficulty like all my luggage, it implies a struggle. She is painting a picture of herself suffering. She wants Marcus to imagine her dragging heavy bags onto a crowded train. She wants him to feel guilty. This is the implied meaning. I am going to suffer because you didn't help me. She is punishing him with words. Marcus, being a fluent speaker, hears this loud and clear. He feels the sting. If he misses this cue, if he just says, "Yeah, trains are fun," he will seem insensitive. He needs to read between the lines and address the emotion, not the words. So, Marcus decides to address the elephant in the room. The elephant in the room is an idiom for a big problem that everyone is ignoring. He says, "Look, Elena, are you upset that I couldn't drive you? I really am sorry about that." Now, watch what Elena does. She sighs, looks out the window, and says, "I'm fine, Marcus. Really, it's fine. This is the most dangerous word in the English language. Fine." If you learn nothing else today, remember this. When a woman or a man is clearly acting cold or distant and they say, "I'm fine," they are absolutely 100% not fine. Fine, in this context, is a shield. It means, "I am hurt, but I don't want to discuss it right now because I don't think you will understand," or "I don't want to cry." The implied meaning of "I'm fine" is, "I am hurt. Leave me alone." If Marcus is smart, he will drop the subject or offer a genuine apology. He shouldn't say, "Oh, good, I'm glad you're fine," because that proves he isn't listening to her heart. He should say, "I know it's a hassle. I'll make it up to you when you get back." That response acknowledges the implied hurt. Now, let's leave the tension of the coffee shop and go to the high-pressure environment of the office. We are back with Liam. Remember Liam? The shy guy who hates saying no? Well, today he has to present that big project idea to a client. This is a very important meeting. The client is Mrs. Robinson, a serious woman who has been in the business for 30 years. Liam stands up, presents his slides, shows the charts, and smiles. He finishes his presentation and asks, "So, what do you think? Would you be interested in moving forward with this strategy?" The room goes quiet. Mrs. Robinson adjusts her glasses. She looks at the paperwork. She looks at Liam. She says, "You have certainly done a lot of research, Liam. It is a very ambitious proposal. We will have to keep it in mind for the future. Let's analyze this." Liam might hear the words "lot of research" and "ambitious" and think, "Wow, she liked it. She said, I did research. She called it ambitious." But he would be wrong. In the business world, specifically in British and American business culture, we rarely tell someone their idea is bad to their face. It is considered unprofessional and discouraging. Instead, we use code words. Ambitious is often a code word for too expensive, too risky, or unrealistic. It implies that the idea is too big for reality. It's a polite way of saying, "You are dreaming." Then she said, "We will have to keep it in mind for the future." This is the classic soft rejection. It is the business equivalent of "maybe later." It means no, not now, and probably not ever. If she wanted the project, she would talk about next steps. She would ask about timelines. She would ask about costs. By pushing it to the undefined future, she is killing the project gently. Liam needs to understand this implied meaning immediately. If he keeps pushing and says, "Great, so can we sign the contract today?" he will look foolish. He will look like he doesn't understand business norms. The correct response for Liam is to read the room. He should say, "I understand. Perhaps we can revisit this next quarter after I make some adjustments to the budget." This shows he understands the ambitious concern, the money, and accepts the delay gracefully. Let's look at another business phrase that confuses many learners. Imagine Sophie is in a meeting. She suggests a new color for the company logo. She says, "I think pink would be great." Her boss, Mr. Henderson, looks at the design. He scratches his chin. He says, that is a thought." Or he might say, "I hear what you are saying." Does "that is a thought" mean it is a good thought? No. It simply acknowledges that a thought exists. It is neutral, bordering on negative. And "I hear what you are saying" does not mean "I agree with what you are saying." It literally just means my ears are working. These are non-committal phrases. They are used when we want to move the conversation along without agreeing. If you hear, "I hear what you are saying," wait for the "but." Usually it is followed by, "but I think blue is more professional." If you start celebrating because the boss heard you, you are missing the implied hesitation. Now, let's talk about understatement. English speakers, especially in the UK, love understatement. Understatement is when you make a big problem sound small. It is a form of modesty or coping mechanism. Let's see Sophie again. She is incredibly stressed. She has 5 deadlines, her computer is broken, and she has a headache. Liam walks by and asks, "How are things going, Sophie?" Sophie laughs a little nervously and says, "Oh, you know, a bit busy, keeping my head above water." A bit busy. If you look at her desk, it is covered in papers. She looks exhausted. She is not a bit busy. She is drowning in work. But she uses "a bit" to minimize the complaint. She doesn't want to sound like she is complaining or that she cannot handle her job. Keeping my head above water is an idiom that implies survival. She is barely surviving. The implied meaning here is, "I am extremely stressed. Please do not give me more work. And maybe bring me some chocolate." If Liam takes her literally and thinks she is only slightly busy, he might ask her for a favor. That would be a disaster. He needs to read the visual cues combined with the understatement. He should say, "You look swamped. Can I get you anything?" Swamped means overwhelmed. By using a stronger word than she used, he validates her true feelings. He is telling her, "I see the truth, even if you are being modest." Let's switch gears and talk about hedging. Hedging is when we use words to soften an opinion so we don't sound arrogant or aggressive. Words like kind of, sort of, maybe, possibly, I guess, I suppose. These are hedge words. Let's watch a conversation between Liam and Sophie about a movie they just saw. Liam loved it. Sophie hated it. Liam says, "That was the best movie of the year. The acting was incredible." Sophie doesn't want to destroy his happiness. She doesn't want to start an argument. So she says, "Yeah, I suppose the acting was good. The story was kind of slow, though, don't you think?" Sophie uses "I suppose." This shows reluctance. She is agreeing, but only 10%. Then she says, "Kind of slow." Was it kind of slow? No, she probably thought it was boring. But boring is a strong, harsh adjective. Slow is a gentler criticism, and kind of makes it even softer. She finishes with a question. Don't you think? This is a brilliant social tool. Instead of stating her opinion as a fact, the movie was boring, she asks for his opinion on her opinion. She is inviting him to agree with her criticism gently. She is trying to find common ground. The implied meaning is, I didn't like it, but I don't want to be mean about it. Practice time. I want you to imagine a scenario. You are at a hair salon. The hairdresser cuts your hair much shorter than you wanted. It looks terrible. You are shocked. The hairdresser holds up the mirror and asks, "So, what do you think?" You are too polite to scream. You say, "Wow, it is certainly a change. It will take some getting used to." What is the implied meaning? It is a change is a factual statement. It is not a compliment. It will take some getting used to implies that right now you do not like it. You need time to accept this disaster. The hairdresser, if they are perceptive, will hear the lack of words like love, great, or fantastic. They will understand you are unhappy, but you saved them from public embarrassment. You kept the social peace. This is the core function of implied meaning, preserving social harmony even when things are negative. Let's look at a very specific and common situation. The non-apology. Sometimes people apologize without actually apologizing. This happens in relationships and politics all the time. Let's go back to Elena and Marcus. After a few days, Marcus realizes he really did hurt Elena's feelings with the airport situation. He wants to apologize, but he still feels he was right to refuse because 4 a.m. is unreasonable. So he says, "Elena, I am sorry you felt hurt by what happened. Listen closely. I am sorry you felt hurt." Is that an apology? Not really. A real apology takes responsibility. I am sorry I didn't drive you. Marcus is apologizing for her feelings, not for his actions. He is implying, my action was fine, but your reaction was unfortunate. This is a defensive move. It often makes the other person more angry. Elena hears this. She knows the difference. She replies, "I don't need you to be sorry for my feelings, Marcus. I need you to understand why I asked." This is a deep level of communication. They are arguing about the meaning of sorry. If you hear someone say, "I'm sorry if I offended you," remember, they are not admitting they did anything wrong. They are putting the responsibility on you for being offended. It is a subtle but powerful distinction. As a B1 learner moving toward B2, catching these nuances allows you to understand the true character of the person you are talking to. Now, let's explore the concept of fishing. No, not catching fish. Fishing for compliments or information. This is a very common way people interact impliedly. Let's see Sophie again. She has bought a new dress. She feels unsure about it. She walks up to Liam and says, "Ugh, I look so tired today. This old dress is just falling apart." Is she really talking about being tired? Is the dress really falling apart? No, she is fishing for a compliment. She is putting herself down so that Liam will pull her up. She wants him to disagree with her. The implied request is, "Please tell me I look good." If Liam says, "Yeah, you do look tired," He has failed the social test. He has broken the unwritten rule. The correct response, the one she is begging for between the lines, is, "What? No way. You look great. And I love that dress. Is it new?" When people criticize themselves excessively in social situations, they are often asking for reassurance. "My cooking is terrible" implies, "Tell me it's delicious." "I'm so stupid" implies, "Tell me I'm smart." Recognizing this helps you be a more supportive friend and colleague. Let's introduce a new dynamic: the subject change. This is a defensive tool used to avoid conflict. Let's say Liam and Sophie are having lunch with a third colleague, Dave. Dave starts talking about politics. He has very strong opinions. Liam and Sophie disagree with him, but they don't want to have an argument at work. Dave says, "The new policy is a disaster. It's going to ruin everything." Liam pauses, takes a bite of his sandwich, and says, "Speaking of disasters, did you hear about the traffic on the highway this morning? It was backed up for miles." Liam changed the subject. He used a bridge, the word disaster, to move from politics to traffic. The implied meaning is, "Dave, stop talking about politics. We do not want to discuss this." If Dave keeps talking about politics, he is being aggressive. If he follows the new topic, traffic, he is accepting the social boundary Liam just set. Changing the subject is a polite way of saying, "Shut up about this." It is very useful in family gatherings or professional dinners where certain topics are taboo. We also need to talk about the rhetorical question. This is a question that does not need an answer because the answer is obvious. It is often used to make a point or to scold someone. Imagine Mr. Henderson walks in and sees Liam playing a game on his phone during work hours. Mr. Henderson doesn't say, "Stop playing." He asks, "Do you think you have enough free time to be playing games right now?" Does he want Liam to answer? Does he want Liam to calculate his free time? No. The implied meaning is a command. Put the phone away and get back to work. If Liam answers, "Yes, I think I do," he is being incredibly rude and rebellious. The only answer to a rhetorical question like this is action. Liam should immediately put the phone down and say, "Sorry, Mr. Henderson. Getting back to it now." Sometimes implied meaning comes from the specific grammar we use. Let's look at the difference between "you didn't do the report" and "the report wasn't done." The first one, "you didn't do the report," uses the active voice. It points a finger. It blames you. The second one, "the report wasn't done," uses the passive voice. It removes the person. It focuses on the object. In business and polite society, we often use the passive voice to avoid blaming people directly. It softens the blow. If Sophie makes a mistake, Liam might say to the boss, "Unfortunately, the data was entered incorrectly." He doesn't say, "Sophie entered the data incorrectly." He protects her impliedly by removing her name from the sentence. He is implying, "A mistake happened, let's fix it," rather than, "It is Sophie's fault." Listening for the passive voice tells you that someone is trying to be diplomatic or avoid conflict. Let's bring all our characters together briefly at the company holiday party. Everyone is there. Liam, Sophie, Mr. Henderson, Elena and Marcus are there as guests. The atmosphere is happy, but filled with these hidden messages. Mr. Henderson makes a speech. He says, "It has been a challenging year, but we have all learned a lot." Translation: "We lost money, but let's stay positive." Sophie talks to Marcus. She says, "I'd love to hear all about your job sometime." Translation: I am just being polite. I probably won't actually call you to ask about your job, but it is a nice thing to say. Elena sees Liam eating a piece of cake. She says, "Wow, you must have a sweet tooth." Translation: that is a very big piece of cake. Liam replies to Elena, "Well, it is the holidays." Translation: stop judging my eating habits. I am allowing myself a treat. Everywhere you look, people are negotiating reality. They are softening hard truths, asking for love, hiding disappointment, and navigating hierarchy, all without saying exactly what they mean. You are building a complex map of the English language in your mind. The lines are connecting. You are starting to hear the music, not just the notes. But there is one final frontier. The most difficult and arguably the most fun part of English implied meaning. Humor, sarcasm, irony, the ability to make people laugh by saying the exact opposite of what is true. This is the final level. If you can understand when an English speaker is joking, especially when they keep a straight face, then you have truly arrived. You are no longer translating words. You are translating culture. Let's start with sarcasm. Sarcasm is when we say the exact opposite of what we mean, usually to be funny or to show annoyance. It is very common in English-speaking countries, particularly in the UK, Australia, and parts of the US. The key to sarcasm is tone. Usually, the voice goes flat, or it drags out the words. Let's look at Liam. It is Monday morning. It is raining heavily. Liam walks into the office, soaking wet because he forgot his umbrella. He looks like he just swam across a river. Sophie looks at him and says, "Lovely weather for a stroll, isn't it?" Now, look at the facts. Is the weather lovely? No, it is terrible. Is it good for a stroll? No, it is the worst possible time for a walk. Sophie is using sarcasm. She is highlighting how bad the weather is by calling it lovely. If Liam takes her literally, he might think she is crazy. But he knows the code. He wipes water from his face and replies, "Oh, absolutely perfect. I was hoping to take a shower with my clothes on today." This is a sarcastic exchange. It bonds them. They are sharing a joke about a bad situation. If Liam had just said, "I am wet and angry," it would bring the mood down. But by using sarcasm, saying perfect, he shows he can laugh at his own misfortune. Watch out for words like great, perfect, brilliant, and obvious. When these positive words are used in negative situations, they become negative. If your computer crashes and you lose all your work and you scream, "Oh, great!" that is sarcasm. You mean, this is a disaster. Let's move to deadpan humor. This is very hard for learners because the speaker doesn't smile. They tell a joke with a serious face. Let's see Mr. Henderson. He is leading a meeting about office safety. He is a serious man. He says, "Remember, everyone, in the event of a fire, please exit the building before you update your social media status. The fire will not wait for you to choose a filter." He says this with a completely straight face. He doesn't laugh. He doesn't say, "Just kidding." But is he serious? Well, partially. He is making a joke about how addicted people are to their phones. He is using absurdity, the idea of choosing a filter while the building burns, to make a point. If you are sitting in that meeting and you take notes seriously on "do not use filters," you have missed the joke. The implied meaning is, stop looking at your phones and pay attention to safety, but I will say it in a funny way so I don't sound like a boring parent. Now, let's talk about self-deprecation. This is a huge part of English culture. It means making fun of yourself to make other people feel comfortable. It shows you are not arrogant. Let's go to Elena. She is on a date with a new guy. She is nervous. She spills a little bit of pasta sauce on her shirt. It is embarrassing. A confident person might try to hide it, but Elena uses self-deprecation. She points to the stain and says, "You know, I actually planned this. It is the new fashion trend. I call it Italian chic." She is joking. She is calling herself clumsy, but in a charming way. She is implying, "I know I made a mess, but I am cool enough to laugh about it, so please don't feel awkward." If the guy laughs, it breaks the tension. If she had panicked and apologized profusely, it would have made the date awkward. So, if you hear someone talking about how bad they are at math, or how clumsy they are, or how terrible their memory is, they are usually trying to bond with you. They are lowering their status so you can feel equal. Let's look at banter. Banter is a playful exchange of teasing remarks. It happens between friends. To an outsider, it might sound mean, but it is actually a sign of affection. Let's see Liam and Sophie again. Sophie is eating a very healthy lunch, a salad with no dressing. Liam is eating a giant burger. Sophie says, "That looks like a heart attack on a plate, Liam." Liam smiles and replies, "I'm just trying to balance out your rabbit food, Sophie. Someone has to enjoy life." Are they fighting? No. Sophie called his food a heart attack. Liam called her food rabbit food. These are insults, but they are smiling. The tone is light. This is banter. They are teasing each other to show they are close enough to be rude without hurting feelings. If a stranger said to Liam, "That looks like a heart attack," Liam would be offended. But because it is his friend Sophie, it is funny. The implied meaning is, we are such good friends that we can skip the politeness. Now, I want to prepare you for the ultimate test. I have written a completely new story involving all our characters. This story is packed with everything we have learned in this entire session. I am going to read the story to you. I want you to listen and try to spot the implied meanings. Don't worry if you miss some. I will break it down afterwards. Here is the story. It was Friday night, and Marcus had decided to host a dinner party. He had invited Elena, Liam, and Sophie. Marcus was not the best cook in the world, but he was, in his own words, enthusiastic. The guests arrived at 7 p.m. sharp. Liam brought a bottle of wine. He handed it to Marcus and said, "I wasn't sure what you were cooking, so I brought something that goes with everything. Or nothing, depending on how the night goes." Marcus laughed and said, "You have so much faith in me, Liam. It is touching." They sat in the living room. The smell coming from the kitchen was distinct. It smelled a bit like burnt toast and heavy garlic. Elena sniffed the air and said, "Wow, Marcus, that smells intense." "Is it a new recipe?" Marcus shouted from the kitchen. "It is a surprise. Just make yourselves at home." Sophie looked at the others and whispered, "I think the surprise might be that we are ordering pizza later." When Marcus finally served the food, it was a lasagna. But the edges were very black, and the middle looked a bit soupy. He placed it on the table with a proud smile. He said, "Voila, rustic lasagna. Dig in." Everyone took a serving. The room went silent for a moment as they took their first bites. The pasta was crunchy. The sauce was cold. Liam was the first to speak. He cleared his throat and said, "The texture is certainly interesting, Marcus. I have never had lasagna with such a crunch before. It is very modern." Elena nodded quickly and added, "It definitely has a kick to it. You really didn't hold back on the spices, did you? Marcus looked at them, trying to gauge their reaction. He said, "Be honest. Is it inedible?" Sophie smiled sweetly and said, "It is not inedible, Marcus. It is just memorable. But, you know, I had a really big lunch today, so I might just pick at the salad, if that is okay." Marcus sighed and put down his fork. He looked at the burnt lasagna. He looked at his friends, trying to be polite. He started to laugh. He said, "You guys are terrible liars. This tastes like cardboard mixed with fire." Liam put his fork down immediately and said, "Oh, thank God you said it first. I was worried I was going to chip a tooth." Elena laughed and said, "I was literally planning my funeral while chewing that first bite." Marcus stood up, grabbed the lasagna dish, and walked to the trash can. He said, "Well, I think this lasagna has met its destiny. Who is up for the Italian place down the street?" The group cheered. As they walked out the door, Sophie patted Marcus on the back and said, "You know, Marcus, you really are a man of many talents. Cooking just happens to not be one of them." Marcus smiled and replied, "Hey, at least I am consistent. I haven't made a good meal since 2015. End of story. Did you catch all the hidden meanings? Let's break it down, paragraph by paragraph, so you can see the matrix of English conversation. First, Liam's entrance. He brought wine and said, "I brought something that goes with everything, or nothing, depending on how the night goes." This was a joke. He was teasing Marcus. He was implying, "I think your cooking might be bad, so we might just drink this wine for dinner." When Marcus replied, "You have so much faith in me, it is touching," that was sarcasm. He meant, "You have zero faith in me, and you are rude, but I am laughing about it." Then, the smell. Elena said, "That smells intense." Intense is a polite word for bad or overpowering when talking about food smells. If it smelled good, she would have said delicious or mouth-watering. She then asked, "Is it a new recipe?" This is a classic diversion. Instead of saying, "It smells burnt," she asks a technical question to be polite. Sophie whispered, "I think the surprise might be that we are ordering pizza later." This was a prediction masked as a joke. She was reading the evidence, the bad smell, and predicting the outcome. The food will be inedible. But she whispered it to share the bond of shared knowledge with the other guests without hurting the host yet. Then came the tasting. The food was burnt and cold. Liam said, "The texture is certainly interesting. Very modern. Here is that word again. Interesting." When describing food, interesting almost always means weird or bad. Calling it modern was a sarcastic way of justifying the crunchy pasta. He was joking that undercooked pasta is a new, fancy style. He was trying to be funny to cover up the disaster. Elena said, "It definitely has a kick to it. We learned this earlier." Kick means spicy, but here she used it to avoid saying too much garlic. Then she asked, "You didn't hold back on the spices, did you?" This rhetorical question implies you used way too much spice. Then Marcus asked for honesty. "Is it inedible?" Sophie used a double negative and a softener. She said, "It is not inedible." That is technically true, you can eat it, but it is a very low bar. It is like saying, "He is not ugly." It is not a compliment. Then she called it memorable. This is a fantastic euphemism. A car crash is memorable. A bad movie is memorable. Calling a meal memorable implies it is bad in a way she will never forget. Finally, she used the excuse. I had a really big lunch today. We know this is a lie. She is using a polite excuse to stop eating without blaming the food. But the turning point of the story is when Marcus acknowledges the truth. He says, "You guys are terrible liars. This tastes like cardboard mixed with fire. This is breaking the seal." Once the host admits the failure, the guests are free to be honest. The tension breaks. Liam immediately switches from polite, interesting texture to honest humor. "I was worried I was going to chip a tooth." Elena switches from polite, has a kick, to hyperbole, planning my funeral. Hyperbole is extreme exaggeration for comic effect. She wasn't actually dying, but saying so is funny. Finally, the banter at the end. Sophie insults Marcus. "You really are a man of many talents. Cooking just happens to not be one of them." This is a backhanded compliment. It starts nice, man of many talents, and ends with a slap, can't cook. But because they are friends and the crisis is over, it is received as warmth. Marcus uses self-deprecation to finish. "At least I am consistent." He is making fun of his own failure to show he is secure and happy. This story illustrates the ultimate goal of fluency. It is not just about grammar. It is about the flow of social energy. The characters started with politeness, hiding the truth to be nice, moved to discovery, admitting the truth, used humor/sarcasm, laughing at the truth, and ended with banter, bonding over the truth. If you can navigate these stages, you can handle any dinner party in London, New York, or Sydney. So, how do you practice this? You cannot learn sarcasm from a textbook. You have to hear it. I want you to watch British or American comedies. Shows like The Office or Friends are textbooks for implied meaning. Watch a scene where a character is embarrassed. Listen to what they say. Do they say, "I am embarrassed"? No. They probably make a joke. They probably use sarcasm. Pause the video and ask yourself, what is the literal meaning? And what is the implied meaning? Also, start taking risks with your own speaking. Next time it rains, try saying, "Beautiful day, isn't it?" See if people smile. Next time you make a small mistake, try saying, "Well, that was brilliant of me." Use your tone. Smile. English is a playful language. We like to play with words. We like to hide meanings like treasure for others to find. We have come to the end of our journey today. We have traveled from the basic, indirect refusal to the complex, sarcastic banter. My hope is that the next time you listen to a conversation in English, you won't just hear the words. You will hear the music. You will hear the hesitation, the tone, the silence, and the jokes. You will read between the lines naturally. This has been Alex, your host at English in Fluency. Thank you for trusting me with your time and your learning. It has been an absolute pleasure guiding you through the hidden layers of this language. Now, I have a small favor to ask. I want you to be an active learner right now. In the comments section below, I want you to write one example of a time you used implied meaning, or a time you misunderstood it. Did you ever say yes when you meant no? Did you ever miss a sarcastic joke? Share your story. It helps the community learn. And of course, if you found this video helpful, please make sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. We have so many more deep dives coming up. Pronunciation secrets, vocabulary mastery, and more cultural insights. You don't want to miss what is coming next. Until then, keep listening, keep practicing, and remember, sometimes the most important things are the ones we don't say. I'll see you in the next video. Bye for now.